Hi everybody, welcome back to the Sales on Demand Show. My name is Adam Schneider. If you're tuning in for the first time, I would like to welcome you to episode 83. Yes, I have done 83 episodes, and in 2 months, this will be the 2-year anniversary of the podcast. I've been running this for almost 2 years. I can hardly believe it. You can find this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. There's probably a half a dozen other platforms, including YouTube. You can subscribe on any one of those, or if you're really kind of obsessive, you can subscribe on all of them. But go ahead and do that so you never miss an episode. It's going to be released every Thursday in the morning, hopefully. So today we're going to be talking about 5 ways to double your productivity. I'm going to be giving you very, very specific tips. As you are probably aware, I like to be very, very, very specific about how to do things. I don't like to just inspire you with empty platitudes like some podcasters might. I like to actually say, sit down and do these 3 or these 5 things, and I think that's more practical. That's how I would like to be mentored, and so that's what I do for my listeners. So what brought me to this episode is I just started working from home full time. That's right, I am no longer an employee, which is kind of crazy, but I always knew this was going to happen, and I knew that I was going to have to get very, very serious about managing my time and getting things done in a productive way. So this is almost me talking to myself and reminding myself of the things that are going to help me maintain that productivity over time. Now that I have all the time in the world, here's the thing. The available jobs that you have, they always expand to fill the time available to do them. If you give somebody that has an 8-hour day, if you give them 2 hours of work, they'll probably take all 8 hours to do it. And this is just one of those things. Your mind will, work slower if you don't have a plan. So I like to begin podcasts by talking about, personal life because, why not? So, looking out the window right now, it's finally snowing. I knew this was coming, but it still kind of sucks every time. At least it didn't snow in September, so that's good, I guess. But yeah, it is kind of snowy and it's cold, and we've got the heat going in the house, so it's, kind of what we call late fall, even though it's only been fall for about 3 weeks. That's about all you get in Canada. So you get about 3 weeks of leaves falling and, the nice colors, and then it just turns into gray, mushy, wet suck. So that's where we're at right now. But I don't have to go outside for very much. And of course, it's kind of sad for me because the running season is kind of over. I'm not going to be going really hard on running when it's, cold out. I'll probably still go out, but I doubt I will be doing too many 10-kilometer running sessions, when there's snow all over the ground. And I don't like running on a treadmill as much, so I'm probably going to pull back on that. Work more on the weights and work on nutrition. But I did have a good summer. I did a couple of races. Didn't really, nobody's going to be super impressed with my time. I'm not fast, but it was brand new to me. I, just started running this year, so I'm pretty happy with it. I've been sort of wandering around just pondering the fact that I'm no longer employed, and it's finally sinking in along with, the tiniest bit of anxiety, because I just, you don't know how things are going to go, right? And whenever you start something new, you're worried that you're going to screw it up. And so even though I've been doing this for almost 4 years now, I'm still not immune to the anxiety that, even new sellers have, because Now it's really go time, and if I don't make the money, then the money's not coming in. There's no backup plan here. So yeah, I have been doing some coaching sessions, but there was not as many as I had expected, and it's really one thing that I've really learned with this running your own business thing is that when somebody promises you something, don't rely on their promise. Don't take someone else's word that something's going to work out for you. You got to make your own thing. And that's why I really love print on demand, because it really is your own thing. You're not relying on someone else's work to make your success happen. I mean, apart from the postal service, I guess, and obviously the people who print and ship your products. But that is it. So you can work as little or as much as you want, and you will see success based on not necessarily the amount of time you spend working, but how efficiently and how effectively you work. So we are going to talk about that, and that's I think this is one of the most important things. This is mindset. So I usually like to talk about what is currently selling to give you guys tips on what to focus on at the current time of year. Well, we are coming up on, today is Prime Day. October 13th and 14th is Amazon Prime Day. In my opinion, it means nothing for us. It's just a day. So don't expect anything from Prime Day. If you didn't make a whole bunch of sales, well, that's perfectly normal. Maybe some people who have, hundreds and hundreds of items in stock, maybe they're making a few more sales. But what I understand from Amazon Prime Day is that they're not prioritizing their own products to be shipped from warehouses. They are prioritizing what they call fulfilled by merchant products. So print on demand, if you are selling on Amazon, might do a little bit better today. But don't expect much from that. So yeah. However, Cyber Monday and Black Friday are coming up, and those are always huge. I haven't even looked up on the calendar when Black Friday and Cyber Monday are, but they always follow, Thanksgiving. So that's, if you're in the United States, you haven't yet celebrated Thanksgiving, whereas here in Canada, we just had it. So you guys will probably know more about that than I do. I'll have to actually look at the calendar. Now, if you're selling on Amazon and you're considering sending in some Fulfilled by Amazon replenishments, send those in right now. I will be creating my shipments and shipping them in basically this week. And that's going to be an important thing to get those in stock and ready to go. Because, it takes longer than you think. All right, everybody, don't forget you can get a free video and weekly tips when you join my email list and take advantage of my training. You can find that at salesondemandshow.com/start. I do have a training course that is teaching everything that you need to know to launch and run your own print-on-demand business from A to Z. That's why I called it Print-on-Demand A to Z. Everything you need to know, including how to open up an Amazon account, how to open up an Etsy account, how to create your first listings, how to fill orders when you get them, how to create customized listings. Right now, customizable listings are doing really, really well for me. So I had told you guys that my goal this year was to open up a brand new Etsy store and try to get it to $50,000 in sales. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. Etsy closed my second store, and they are not very responsive to my communications, and so I'm just going to work on building my current store to $100,000 in sales for 2020. That is my goal, and if I can break that goal, I'm going to. So I am going to be putting my head down, putting the helmet on, and charging hard here. And I'll be working late into the night, early in the morning, whatever it takes. Now, Of course, there's a lot of things that get in the way. There's distractions. There's all kinds of things. And we're going to talk today about how to eliminate those distractions, how to get yourself into the frame of mind where you're going to be more effective when you sit down to do your work. It's not good enough to just sit down at the computer and say, I'm going to work right now. You really need to do a few things to make that time more efficient. Otherwise, you'll do what a lot of people do. You'll sit at your desk and you'll cruise Facebook. And that's pretty much useless. I mean, there's nothing productive on Facebook right now. Nothing. And I think we all know that, but it's very hard. And even if it's not Facebook, you've got something that distracts you. Could be television, could be family members. And we're going to talk about how to make your time your own and make that the best time possible. So, I'll start from number 5, and I'm going to work my way down to number 1, because why not? So, my number 5 tip, and I think this is where you need to start, is you have to eliminate the things that do steal your time, which some people call time thieves. You can call them whatever you like, but they are distractions, and they are pointless distractions. So it could be, family members who keep coming in your room and won't let you work. Could be phone calls that you get, texts, emails, Facebook, social media posts, hunger, and whatever. So you need to eliminate those for a period of time. And we'll talk about how to do that in tip number 2, but that's going to be your first priority. So if you need to, find a quiet area of your house, somewhere that you can get internet access. If you've got a laptop, you can pull your laptop and take it with you, but you need to close your door, turn off your phone or turn it to silent, close your Facebook app and turn off your notifications, and just make that time your own. If the kids are coming in your room, you sit them down and you say, listen, I'm working. I'm going to work for 25 minutes. Then you can have some of my time. But you enforce that rule where they are not allowed to interrupt you. And it may take some time for you to get them to comply with that, but you train them early and they'll catch on pretty quick, I think. And if they're not catching on, you might have to get a little bit more strict with them. Distract them, maybe sit them down in front of something for them to do. You can work and you can explain what you're doing. You can teach them something, but make sure that that they understand that they are not to distract you while your door is closed. I do this in my house. I have kids as well, and sometimes they wander in here, and typically if the door is closed and if they hear my voice echoing through the door, they know that I'm doing something, either coaching somebody or I'm recording or I'm doing something else. And the only reason that they need to interrupt me is if the house is on fire. And that hasn't happened yet. So number 4 is decide what you need to do first. So don't just sit down, grab your mouse, and start clicking on your screen. In order for you to be productive, you need to decide the what. The various specific things that you're going to do. So you got to get really specific with this sometimes. I always tell people that you should have a goal of launching 5 new products a day. 5 new products a day will really get you ahead of the competition. And you may not even be able to get 5, but 3 is good. So if you can only get 3, then put out 3. If you can get 1, put out that 1. If you're really slow at this, if you haven't opened your accounts yet, then obviously you need to do that first. So you got to sit down, you got to write down somewhere, or you got to make a very strong mental note, and maybe even say to yourself out loud what you are going to do when you sit down in front of your computer. And then when you open your browser window, I like to use Microsoft Chrome. It already opens up all of the pages that I need to use, and then I close the ones that I'm not using. So if I'm not working on Amazon, I'll close the Amazon tab. Otherwise, I might be distracted by going to Amazon and just doing some random things. And that's not productive. So, for example, today, I'm like, okay, I am going to clean out this particular folder and get rid of anything that I've already accomplished so that it's not cluttered up. And then I'm going to upload these 3 customizable listings onto Etsy. I might put them on Amazon as well. Some of them I have, some of them I haven't. But Etsy is the place that I start with those customizable listings because that's where I'm probably going to get the most sales out of them. So that's what I was doing today, and because I wasn't working with Amazon, I closed that tab. I closed a bunch of other tabs. They're always there if I need them again. I have them saved as favorites on my browser window, but I close them so that I can work between tabs and not get distracted. So you got to decide what you're going to do, make a list of projects, and balance between growth and maintenance. So if you're already making sales, it's tempting to spend a lot of time fiddling around with those customers and sales, and maybe you click on the listings that those people bought from, and maybe you're fiddling with the title and all that stuff. So that's all fine, but don't waste time doing that, or too much time doing that, I should say. It's not necessarily a bad thing to do, but you got to focus on both growth and maintenance. And this comes, of course, when you get messages from customers. So if you've got your Etsy screen up or you've got your smartphone nearby and someone messages you, you're going to get that notification right away. Well, you don't have to reply right away. I know it's difficult, and I'm in the same boat where if somebody messages me, I need to reply. But once you start to get a lot of messages, you're probably going to want to separate your customer communication time from all of your other things. So that might mean that you turn off notifications from Etsy or from Amazon while you are doing your growth stuff. So growth stuff is launching new products. That's really all it is. There's a few other things that you can do to grow, but that's going to be the main one. Research and product creation. Those are going to be the 2 things that you get the most time out of. All right, so point number 3 is don't keep starting new projects. And I said that slowly, and if you want to put a clap emoji in between those, let me do this for you. Don't keep starting new projects. Okay? So I've been coaching some folks recently, and you know what? I was exactly the same way. I will confess to you, this is a confession booth here, and I will not deny that I was definitely the kind of person who would start something new before they had finished or even started the last project that I had going on. So I kind of shared a little bit about this in I think that was episode 81, where I was talking about my journey through e-commerce. But when I first got started, I got a bunch of training about Facebook ads and promoting products that are drop shipped from China. So I did that, and then I started doing print on demand. So those two business models they could not be more different from each other. Technically, they're both selling physical products, but that's about where the similarity ends. So I had shiny object syndrome, meaning that, if somebody promoted a course to me or some kind of training, I was like, oh man, yeah, I need that. And then I would buy that, and then someone would be like, oh, look at this software here. It really saves you time when you're doing this thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's only $30. Yeah, no, I'll get that too. So I have definitely cured myself of shiny object syndrome. Although, from time to time, I think to myself that I would like to get back into Facebook ads. There is some relevancy. When you're selling print-on-demand products on marketplaces, you can sell those same products with Facebook ads. It's not impossible to do that, but you really have to plan that out ahead of time and not jump into it. So right now, it's not on my plate, and I'm not planning to add it to my plate. So don't keep starting new projects until you have made significant progress on the ones that you already have going on. So if you're working on your Etsy store and maybe you're waiting for Amazon to start, those are probably enough for you. Some of the folks that I've been coaching, they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to be opening my Shopify store as well. And I ask them, and I say, hey, listen, do you know Shopify is a completely different business model? And I even said to one fellow, I said, I would recommend not doing that. Don't worry about Shopify. That's a huge... Shopify is a completely different animal. You have to push your own traffic to Shopify. You have to bring your own customers in. You've got to manage their experience. You've got to create listings. It's completely different. You need to run, paid advertising or use, Instagram or some other type of, organic traffic source. But it's a lot of work. And you haven't even opened your Etsy shop yet. So don't start doing something else until you've worked on what you've got. And that's probably my biggest takeaway from this is don't start new projects until you have progress on the ones you have, especially if you're working a job on the side. I mean, when you first get started doing e-commerce, it looks, your eyeballs open up to this world of people buying things online. You realize that this is huge, and this could be the biggest thing you've ever done, and it's almost intoxicating. You get this high of like, ooh, yeah, I want to do it all. I want to sell it all. I want to progress. I want to really do well at this, and you're motivated, right? That new seller motivation, that's a real thing. But you got to focus that motivation and narrow your focus down. Okay, so work on one thing at a time. If you're having trouble with Amazon, leave it aside and work on Etsy. I know sellers who, even after 3 years, they still don't sell on Amazon. Now, I mean, if you're 3 years in and you're not selling on Amazon, you're probably leaving money on the table. It's just an easy platform to start, especially if you've already established yourself on a different platform. There's really no reason not to, but that's just how some people are, and I don't blame them for that. But especially if you're brand new or you've barely gotten started, you got started in Mother's Day or something like that, just stick to what you can. And so that brings us to number 2, and this is something that I've been working on more recently, is work in manageable time chunks with an alarm and a break between them. So this kind of goes back to point number 5, where you're eliminating time thieves. And, a lot of people, you've got other responsibilities, right? In order for you to be productive, you're going to have to make the most of probably a smaller amount of time. And the way to do that is to just select an amount of time that you want to work in and set an alarm that, counts down that amount of time. Put your smartphone on your desk beside you with a 25-minute alarm and press the go button or press the start button. And then you have 25 minutes to get as much done as you can. Now, you've already decided what you're going to do. So, you've got your list of projects that you want to work on. Let's say you're adding your 5 listings, or maybe you're adding some mock-ups for listings that have already gotten a sale. Well, you got 25 minutes to do it. And you're kind of competing with yourself to get those things done in the time. So it's almost like you're creating a game. And if you know anything about gamifying, human beings are designed to play games, and we're, our brains are wired to win. Maybe for most people, but even for people who aren't really competitive, you can compete with yourself. Maybe you don't need to compete with other people, but if you know that you have time pressure and you have a limited amount of time, you're more likely to work faster and more efficiently, and you get into that, what they call the zone. Now, you don't have to work in 25-minute time chunks. I like to do sometimes 50 minutes. And I find that 50 minutes is about the maximum that I can do and still be efficient. But what you don't want to do is just sit in front of your computer all day long and just keep smashing through, because that might work once in a while, and you might think to yourself, well, I'm in the zone, I don't want to break out of this zone. But here's the thing. You still need to exist in the physical world. So you need to get up and stretch. It's not healthy for you to sit in front of a computer for hours at a time. I've been personally learning a lot about just how bad it is for your body to be sitting in front of a computer all the time. It really increases your risk of heart disease. It makes the muscles in your back and your neck and everything weaker. If you're not moving, you're just moving your hands. You'll have the strongest, mouse hand in the world, but the rest of your body will just be a soggy bag of, smashed bread crusts or something like that. So you need to have some time where you're not sitting in front of your computer, where you get up and maybe you do some stretches, maybe you do some squats. If you're not into squats, you can, I don't know. For me, it's all about like chin-ups and squats and push-ups, but find some kind of exercise that works for you. Go for a quick walk, go and grab a drink of water, but get away from your computer and spend some time staring out the window instead of at a screen. Because staring at a screen, it just strains your eyes and it's just not good for you. So I like to work in those manageable time chunks with an alarm and a break in between them. And I mean, you can really pick any chunk you want, but I find 25 minutes to be a good small chunk and 50 minutes to be a good long chunk. And if you watch TV while you're working, and there's nothing wrong with watching TV while you're working, it probably will distract you a little bit, but generally speaking, I find I'm able to work with TV shows playing in the background. The average length of a short TV show is 25 minutes, so that's kind of perfect. You can start one episode, do some work, and then when the episode's done, you get up and you do something else. So this brings me to the very last thing. And if you're familiar with the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you will recognize this piece of advice as coming directly from that book. And I think, you know what, advice is good. Even if that book came out 25 years ago, it's still good advice. So I'm going to just tell it to you straight. You need to spend some time every single day sharpening your saw. So what this means is, just imagine that you got a sawmill, or you're a carpenter or something like that, and part of your job is cutting pieces of wood, and then you'd stack them up or something like that. So you're not going to spend all day cutting wood, because by the end of the day, your saw blade is going to be so dull that it just is not going to cut very efficiently. So you have to spend a little bit of time every single day sharpening the saw. So what that means in non-sawmill talk is that you got to spend some time refining your skills. So if your main thing is Etsy, maybe you're part of a forum where people talk about Etsy. The Etsy actually has a seller forum where people post their experiences and ask questions. Amazon also has a seller forum. I don't find the Amazon seller forum to be nearly as valuable, but I am part of a bunch of Facebook pages, and I have podcasts that I follow. I have people that I listen to, either their YouTube content or, their written content. And every once in a while, I'll just go and see what they're doing. And oftentimes, I will learn something from what they're doing, or some problem that I've had will suddenly become much more clear. So here's an example. the other day I was, thinking to myself, I'm like, I need to really build the audience for this podcast. So I went to Google and I said, how to build your podcast audience. I typed that in a search, and it came up with a whole bunch of excellent pages, and I read a few of them, and I got some ideas. And so I was sharpening my saw. So instead of spending all your time working, you need to spend some time improving yourself, improving your skills, and sharpening your knowledge, learning more things. So if you're part of my training course, go in and watch some of the videos again. Maybe you'll learn something that you didn't hear the last time. I'm always adding new content. I just added a video this week all about customizable ornaments. So I go through how to create a customizable ornament and list it on both Etsy and Amazon. And maybe you'll come up with a bunch of inspiration for your own customizable ideas. So if you're wondering where that is, go to salesondemandshow.com/AZ. That's where my training lives. And you can get in now. It's October the 14th. I'm leaving my discount code open for another day here. So by the end of tomorrow, the discount code to get that training for $197 will be closed. And that's it. Then the training is $500. And if I lower it down a bit, it might be $400, but it'll never be $200 again. So you get 48 hours to get into that training, and then that's it. It's never going to be $200 again. Use discount code SOD100. So Sales on Demand 100, but the initials SOD to get that discount of $197. And that's it, guys. So I'll just recap that. So number 5, eliminate time thieves. Number 4, decide what you're going to do before you begin to do it. 3, don't keep starting new projects until you make significant progress on the ones you already started. 2, work in manageable time chunks, such as 25 minutes or 50 minutes. Put an alarm in between them and take a break. And number 1, sharpen your saw. Always be learning, always be growing. I'd like to add one more bonus thing in there, is that you need to make a very clearly defined line between your work and between the other things in your life. Don't let work consume everything that you are. If you're not in your workspace, be living with the people around you. Don't become all about work. It's not healthy for you to be all about work, and you can't take that money with you when you die. So you need to live as well. Well, that is it, folks. I appreciate you guys listening to the podcast. Be sure to check in next week, and we'll see you then. Cheers.